Tony Talviti and Davide Ricciardi sit 2 points apart in the championship as we head into the final round at Laguna Seca, which begins now.
Surely this is his chance. Watch this as he pokes out to the right-hand side. Now he's alongside Tony Talviti and he blasts through into the lead of the race.
This battle has literally been going for almost an hour and a half. It's actually quite impressive.
Davide Ricciardi delivers a fantastic performance, crosses the line and wins. And up until this point has driven the better race, but he's running wide, and Ricciardi's made another mistake, and he's taken them both off. My goodness! Yes, and out to the final corner, and a truly well-deserved victory. Fantastic. Makes up for last round. Across the line, absolutely brilliant.
Brown will go outside. 2x2 into Redgate. Brown doesn't see him and hits him. And Ricciardi uses it to his advantage. Ricciardi goes wide! Tries to rejoin, but knows he can't. Gutierrez makes the pass. He's on the last lap. Tony Talviti will hang on with a dominant performance at the front of the field. Still a 12-second gap. Side by side into Lake Cole. This could end in tears, but they make it work. And a touch! And Stenson takes the lead, but goes around. Ricciardi is off. The connection problems that were plaguing Ricciardi at the beginning of the race have come back to haunt him. Coming out of the bus stop now, will take a victory in his debut race. Down to the old right-hand sweeper, which is now a very tight chicane to the right. Not lag, lock up. Williams, and they collide in the chicane. Disaster. And Williams is disconnected. That was lag. Nose and tail down the front straight. He'll be feeling slipstream now. 204s from the leaders. They've been fighting and distracting each other. Talviti looks to the inside. Ricciardi defends. Talviti goes back to the outside, and they're side by side through turn one. And Ricciardi loses the rear end of the car. Talviti sneaks through and takes the place. Tony Talviti down the hill through the final corner and onto the front straight will take the win. Welcome back, everyone, to the final round of the RSS GT1 Championship Series 2 on SimRacingOnline. I am one of your hosts, Pasha Paterson. Caitlin Penny will be joining us shortly. Mic check. Everybody hear me? Get the audio up. Fair question, Fred. Can you hear me? You're scaring me now. So, we are currently in free practice. John Vandergeest heads the timing chart with a 1:23.6 around the track, followed by Andrew Williams, Phil Brown, Roberto Bali, and Dennis Eschenko. Thank you, Fred. Yeah, you're making me nervous over here. So, while we wait for the practice session to wind down, we have about 10 minutes to go. We're going to jump right in here to the driver introductions, catch everybody up on what we've been doing so far in the championship. Starting off with Tony Talviti, who suffered a setback in round 2 at VIR, has won 3 of the next 4 races, seizing the championship lead last time out at Suzuka in a thrilling last lap battle with series rival Davide Ricciardi. Defending GT1 Series champ Davide Ricciardi has been in the lead fight at the end of every race save one, round 5 at Spa-Francorchamps, where an internet transmission failure dragged him to the pits and relegated him to 10th. He will be trying to prove that his season-opening win at CTMP was no fluke and retake the championship from Talviti. Johnny Gutierrez sits only 25 points behind the leader in 3rd place and is very much still in the hunt for the win. He has finished on the 3rd step of the podium in each of the last 3 races and has shown the pace to stay in touch with the leaders. Can he pull off an upset today? Series host John Vandergeest is 4th in the points, having survived unusual incidents at Oschersleben, Donington, and Suzuka, 2 of which knocked him out of the races prematurely. He fought back at Donington to finish 6th in a race-long battle. He'll be trying to reclaim his first top 5 since his podium finish at VIR. Phil Brown has closed to within a single point of Van der Geest in the championship to round out the top 5. He only needs to finish ahead of his fellow Ferrari driver by any margin today to claim the higher spot. Roberto Bali is 6th in the points despite missing the event at VIR. He can rise as high as 4th in the championship if he bests Van der Geest and Brown by enough places. He has shown consistent pace throughout the season and could very well meet that challenge today. Rob Milliken has competed in all 6 races thus far in the series, and that consistency of attendance and pace has brought him up to 7th in the points. His best results thus far have been a pair of 8th place finishes, one after a race-long battle with Van der Geest, Giacomo Verlini, and Nuno Rodriguez, the other at Suzuka, where he benefited from the smaller field after struggling with a recalcitrant Lister. We'll see if her return to home American soil will bring him better luck today. Yusuf Majid was 3rd in the points after the first 3 rounds of the championship, but was forced to retire due to real-life commitments. He has since dropped to 8th in points. Andrew Williams joined the series at Donington and immediately took home a 4th place finish after a race-long battle with Phil Brown, and backed it up with a 5th at Spa. He then stole the spotlight at Suzuka by claiming the pole position and taking a commanding lead in the race, only to be afflicted by the tragedy of a bad connection, which cost him a full lap in the pits. He'll be here to show that his performance can be just as strong on the other side of the Pacific. Steve Olden has fallen to 10th in the standings after he and his custom Steve-O livery were conspicuously absent at Suzuka. He could climb as high as 8th in the points if he shows up and has a decent result today in the final round. Henri Miettinen showed great pace until a disconnection took him out of the season opener at CTMP, but then came back to win at VIR. He has not rejoined us since Oschersleben and has thus slid to 11th in the championship. Giacomo Verlini leads the Lamborghini teammates from Brittech Simsport in 12th place. He missed the race at Oschersleben, but has been in some of the most intense battles we've seen in the other rounds. He was denied a comeback performance at Spa due to mechanical and connection issues. Pablo Finati has shown lead pack pace in the first 3 rounds, but was hampered by 2 disconnections in the first 2 races. Despite his bad luck and recent absences, he stands at 13th in the championship and could jump into the top 10 if he returns for the final round. Laurent Land has run only 2 races thus far, but the first was a well-earned podium finish at Oschersleben. He faced some frustrations at Spa, however, culminating when his Ferrari ran out of fuel in the closing seconds. Steve Isaacs is 15th in the points, having run only the first 2 races, finishing 9th and 7th. Nuno Rodriguez has likewise run only 2 races, claiming 9th at Donington and 8th at Spa. Joachim Steensness blew in on the breeze to snatch a win from the regular contenders at Spa with a brilliant performance, and those 40 points put him in 17th place in the championship. Kai Sivertsen has slid to 18th place after skipping the races since the opener at CTMP, where a 2-stop strategy was foiled only in the closing minutes as he spun at the bottom of turn 2. Dean Timms drives the second of the Brittech cars and is tied for 19th place, having run only 2 races at CTMP and Donington. Javier Eugeni is the other driver at 19th in the points after finishing in 8th at CTMP but not returning to the series since. Roel Postma finished 10th at Oschersleben but has not returned to the series. He stands at 21st. Andrew Harper has raced only at Donington but survived 90 minutes in an unfamiliar and difficult car to finish in 12th. Rounding out the point scorers from this season thus far is Larry Thomas, whose only appearance resulted in a 15th at CTMP. For your broadcaster for this series, you heard the highlights of Caitlin Penny and Max Shefford at CTMP, and Caitlin went solo at round 2 at VIR. I'm Pasha Paterson, and have had the pleasure of calling the races since Donington. Today, Caitlin and I will be teaming up to bring you the finale here at Laguna Seca. Switch now to some live shots again. Turn the audio on and all that goodness. We see that Van der Geest still tops the leaderboard in free practice with a 1:23.2 now. Laurent Land only under 2 tenths down. Tony Talvidi, 4 tenths behind. Followed by Andrew Williams, Roberto Bali, Phil Brown, Denis Sashenko, and Paulo Braga, who joins the series for the finale. Conspicuously absent on the timing table is Davide Ricciardi. So we'll see if he... I certainly hope he'll be around for the final round. It'll be certainly be a twist for the championship. Pablo Finati is on track, or at least in the pits, so he will likewise return in the orange Celine. So there you go. Now there are 2 stylish orange cars in the field. Here's John Van der Geest checking in the currently leading the timing. Sitting in the pits now. Rob Milliken has joined. Has yet to set a practice lap, however. It's Talvidi in the number 5 Celine. Laurent Land back in the 12 Ferrari. Denis Ishenko in the 35 Lister. Phil Brown back in the 57 Ferrari. Andrew Williams in the 58 Ferrari. See if he's got a bit of a stronger cable out to the out to the internet today. That's me in Steve Isaac's beautifully painted Viper. Shame we haven't seen this out on track more often this season, because it's certainly a nice car. Bali's in the pits now. Currently 6th place in free practice. With about 2 minutes to go in real time terms. Let's get a... Let's see here. And now, let's see, where are the controls on this thing? There we go. Finati's on an out lap.
Hey, Pasha.
Hello, hello, we are live, yay!
Oh, we're live.
Yes, welcome back.
Right, do you mean they can hear me, but...
Oh yes, sorry to surprise you with that, but yes.
Sorry, yeah, I wasn't expecting to be going this quickly. Okay, yeah, hi everyone. I'm Caitlin. I'm commentating with you alongside Pasha Paterson. Sorry, yeah, that really caught me off guard. Never mind, it's okay, because we have some racing here tonight, and not just some racing, but a championship finale. We're at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, a very popular, very successful, very prestigious circuit, you could say, for round 7 of the RSS GT1 Championship for SimRacingOnline. And going into this final round, 3 drivers are still in contention for the championship mathematically, and those are Tony Talviti, Davide Ricciardi, and Johnny Gutierrez. Hello Pasha, who is alongside me in the commentary box. This is Pasha Paterson, who's been commentating for the last few rounds. Pasha, so since you're more familiar with how the championship is looking at the minute and the form that these drivers have had in the last few races, who do we have to look out for today, and what kind of things are you predicting?
Well, Tony Talvidi and Davide Ricciardi have been going back and forth in the championship lead for the last couple of races. Talvidi has just reclaimed it with his win last time out at Suzuka. But I think the real pleasant surprise last time was Andrew Williams, who leapt onto the pole at Suzuka and was running away to a commanding lead when tragedy struck and he lost his connection. He still set, I believe, the fast lap of the race, even from a lap down, so he definitely has the pace to come back. So far, we've also seen Phil Brown and John Van der Geest currently topping the leaderboard in free practice. We'll see if that holds up and mixes up the field for the finale here today.
Thank you very much. Sorry if I went over things that you'd already said. I'm not sure what's been said and what hasn't. But anyway, we are currently yet to start the qualifying session. That's coming up in just a few minutes' time. probably... Oh, yeah, right. So we're underway now for a 15-minute qualifying session here from Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. In terms of the cars that you have to be looking out for, we have the normal kinds. We have Lister Storms, as driven by Rob Milliken. We have Ferrari 550s, as driven by Lauren Lons, John Van de Geest. We have a Celine S7, I believe. Tony Talviti and Pablo Finotti have theirs. Denis Ishenko has a Lister Storm, like the one we've already spoken about. Phil Brown has a Ferrari 550, as does Roberto Bali, and Paula Braga, who is the other driver who has the other car that I haven't spoken about yet. He has... Actually, no, he doesn't. He has another Celine, so we don't have any Lamborghinis today. That's a little bit of a shame, but never mind. And just to completely finish off the entry list, Andrew Williams is in one of the Ferraris, so... no Lamborghinis today, but plenty of Celines, Ferraris, and Listers. Also no Dodge or Chrysler Vipers. But anyway, still a very competitive field of drivers. And talk to us a bit about this circuit as well, Laguna Seca. It's quite a unique challenge, isn't it?
Yes, it's one that's been a bit of a gremlin for me as well. But it's a bit of a shorter track, lots of elevation change, lots of big sweeping corners, and of course the challenge at the top of the hill here with Corkscrew lining up a largely blind left-hander to then fall down the hill to go into another right and left in a very high-speed downhill section to the hairpin leading onto the front straight. So a lot of very technically challenging corners on a relatively short lap. So even with a smaller field, we should see nobody really running away in a big gap. There'll be plenty of traffic and battles to watch up and down the field for most of the race, I believe.
We're about to see what kind of lap times we're expecting, because you've got drivers coming towards the end of the lap for the first time to set the benchmark times. The guys just crossing the start-finish line now to start the flying lap. So actually, I think if we have a look at one of those cars and just ride around this roller coaster of a circuit, let's go to Phil Brown. Phil Brown just starting his first flying lap now, heading over the crest of the hill towards what is officially turn 2. And that's double apexed. Really, the second apex is more important, and that's a little bit too much curve for my liking there. But never mind. Continues on his way through turn 3 to the right, under the Cooper tires banner. We head through turn 4, another right-hander up towards the ascent. When you start climbing uphill, and you really have a sense at this point in the lap that it's a roller coaster and that you're preparing for a drop. That's coming up very, very shortly. We're now heading onto the Rahal Straight under Graham and Bobby Rahal, who were both raced here and been very successful. And now the legendary Corkscrew locking both of the front tyres up. Not quite getting it right, in fact running straight off and over the runoff area, much like Alex Zanardi did while taking the lead back in 1998. And the exit of the Corkscrew, you head through Rainy Curve, turn 9 and then turn 10. And turn 11 is actually technically a hairpin because it goes over 90 degrees. And that completes a lap of Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. I'm not expecting this to be a particularly quick lap, but we'll see what it is anyway. It's a 124.802. So that was Phil Brown's benchmark, although that has already been beaten by Andrew Williams, who's top of the order with a 124.071. Lauren Lance, Roberto Bali and Pablo Finotti, second, third and fourth, with Denis Ishenko also within 4/10 of a second. And I believe everyone now has set a lap time. Some drivers still, Paulo Braga and Tony Talviti still with a lot of time to gain. Rob Milliken has not yet set a lap, but anyway, yeah. So, Pasha, 10 minutes of qualifying remaining. Oh, John Van de Geest goes to the top there. Would you mind just giving a quick recap of the championship leading up to this point and where we are in terms of that close fight?
So, yes, for the last 2 races, Talviti and Ricciardi have been within a handful of points of each other. Ricciardi took the lead in the championship at Spa, and then with his win last time out at Suzuka, Tony Talviti has jumped back in the lead, but by only 2 points. So with the point structure being what it is in SRO, 40 points for the win and I believe 36 for second, that means that whoever finishes ahead of the other on track today, barring disaster that puts them both out of the race, whoever finishes ahead will take the championship. But Johnny Gutierrez, who I don't see on the practice table yet, if he gets lucky and finishes far enough ahead of both of them, he's still only 25 points back, so he could conceivably be the dark horse here. Conspicuous in his absence so far is Davide Ricciardi. He doesn't appear to be on the server, or at least not on timing, and he's in second place in the championship, so he's got a title from the previous series and the win in this championship to defend, but so far he hasn't joined the session.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. I don't see either of our championship, not protagonists, because Tony Talviti, of course, is a championship protagonist, but championship challengers, I suppose. I don't see either of them, and that's worrying, and it would be very, very worrying for that to be the way the championship is decided, so I do hope they make it in. We've still got 8 minutes left in qualifying, but this is looking... Yeah, I should have noticed that. This is looking increasingly worrying for our championship fight. I don't want it to go the way of Tony Talviti just by default, but yeah, that's a big shame. I'm just gonna have a quick look on the forum to see if anyone has posted their absence. But it seems that we may not have a championship fight after all. That'd be gutting.
As close as it is, and the competition has been fierce in every race. Ricciardi has certainly been at the front of the field in each of the sessions lately, and it would be quite a surprise if Tony Talviti is suddenly left all by himself at the top of the standings. Although Williams, Bali, and Vandergy is still very much, and Finati as well, very much within reach for this race.
So I'm just looking over the forum, and it appears that, well, they haven't, neither of them have posted a reason as to why they're not here. So I have to assume that they're intending to make it in, but anyway, it seems bizarre that, it seems bizarre that we only have 2 drivers here. Well, sorry, one championship contender here. Sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted. But anyway, we'll keep our eyes trained for those. Meanwhile, Tony Talviti does lead the standings. 123.121 is his lap time, putting him just under 0.6 of a second ahead of Andrew Williams. So that's a big gap at this point in time. Williams himself, last time out a pole sitter, is the top Ferrari currently going around in second position, 123.680. Roberto Bali, another driver in the 123s, he's set at 123.792. Is just exiting the pit lane to go on to one final run. We've also got John Vandergeest fourth, then Pablo Finotti, Phil Brown, Lauren Lawrence, Dennis Eschenko, who wasn't... Oh, and a crash! Eschenko spins it straight across the nose of Paulo Braga there. So the 2 of them involved, and remember, you have to drive your car back to the pits to be eligible to go out again. So if you are too badly damaged and stop on track, that's your qualifying session over. Luckily, both of those drivers appear to have kept it running. 10th place in the session at the minute is Rob Milliken, because he hasn't yet set a lap time. He crosses the line, set his first lap, and it keeps him 10th. So no improvement from Rob Milliken at this point in time, and still, I'm afraid that no Davide Ricciardi or Johnny Gutierrez, if they did make it in and didn't set a lap, they would be allowed to start from 11th position, but at the time being, it's doubtful as to whether they'll start the race at all. Just quickly, I'm going to go over a couple of the drivers who joined after I was talking about the cars earlier on. Denis Assenko has a Lister Storm, and Laurent Lons is in one of the Ferrari 550s.
And that incident with Assenko and Braga happened just in front of Tony Talviti on track, so while he does have the pole, he'll be none too pleased about missing out on the time there that he might have gained on the rest of the field. But all's well. Nobody else collided there.
Well, all's more than well, because he's just at a 1:22.388. That's over 1.2 seconds faster than anyone else at this point in time. Tony Talviti is absolutely running away with it here, Pasha.
That's quite a lap. He wasn't really even close to that in free practice before the qualifying session, so he's found some sort of secret out there that he was lacking only a few moments ago, and has now claimed the pole with a vengeance.
Sure, indeed he has. Pablo Finotti goes second, 1:23.491, but still that's over a second off Talviti. So Talviti absolutely dominating the pack at this point in time. This is why we're missing Gutierrez and Ricciardi, the two main drivers who could challenge him. But anyway, Finotti up to second now. Demoot Williams down to third position, so we'll see what last time out's pole sitter can do about that. He's got a few corners left in his lap. Not seeing any purple sectors being set at this point in time, so I presume everyone is just setting themselves up for another fast run. But anyway, time is ticking, and Talviti has a rather big buffer.
Yeah, the competition has been close in the last few races, and this kind of gap is something that Talviti has not been able to enjoy in the last few races. So he has to be feeling pretty good about that lap. We'll see if he can match that pace in the race, though.
Slight improvement from Andrew Williams there. He does manage to get himself within a second of Tony Talviti, but only just. It's a 1:23.366, and that is 0.978 behind Talviti. So still a huge margin for Tony Talviti. And just to put that in perspective, if he was to set times like or if he was that much faster than his opponents throughout the whole of the race, then he'd stand a pretty good chance of lapping pretty much everyone, in fact. So yeah, an incredible lap there from Tony Talviti. Andrew Williams still second, still trying to improve, but again, I don't see purple sectors from Williams, and Talviti now in the pits. So I think he probably knows that he's done enough, and we're just waiting to see who can improve. Laurent Lons makes an improvement, 1:23.475. That puts him up to third position. Splits Williams and Finotti for the time being. Denis Assenko slightly improves his lap, but stays 8th. And we now have under a minute and a half to go. Andrew Williams there, crashes after the timing line, but does set a 1:23.180, which is an improvement on his time, gives him more of a buffer over Lons behind, but only gets him 0.8 of a second off Tony Talviti.
And just at the end of the session now, I saw the notification. I can't find him on the track, though. Just now, I saw the notification of Davide Ricciardi joining the session, so that's a bit of a relief.
Yes, he's here. Davide Ricciardi is here. He's not on track at the minute, but he's in the server. I can tell because his name's come out in a bright white color, and that is fantastic news. That's absolutely wonderful news, because it means we will have a championship decider today. He will have a monster job on his hands to prevent Talviti from taking the championship, because he won't be able to set a qualifying lap now, and as a result, we'll have to start from 11th position with Talviti having taken a commanding pole. But still, we have a championship fight on, and as difficult as it looks for Davide Ricciardi, I've seen stranger things happen in motorsport before, and all it's going to take is one problem from Tony Talviti, or one major problem rather, to swing the championship straight back to Davide Ricciardi. Roberto Bali there going up to sixth position right at the end of the session. The checkered flag is out, so the session is ticking to a close. It doesn't look as if anyone's going to be able to challenge Talviti in this session. Phil Brown goes 7th. Roberto Bali, oh sorry, I already said he stayed 6th. The only other driver who I think could challenge for the top positions is Pablo Finotti. He's got one corner to go on his lap and only needs to find a couple of hundredths of a second to demote Laurent Lons. Here he comes up to the timing line, aiming for the second row of the grid, and doesn't improve. He is on the second row of the grid, but he's only 4th. So that means Tony Talviti takes pole position, followed by Andrew Williams, Laurent Lons, Pablo Finotti, John Van der Geest, Roberto Bali, Phil Brown, Denis Sashenko, Paulo Braga, Rob Milliken, and then from 11th on the grid, but we're very glad that he could make it at all, is Davide Ricciardi.
Hopefully he won't be additionally set back by being behind our two broadcaster cars, but we'll see how that goes once we dive out of his way. He'll be unobstructed to catch up with the field. Also, at the end of qualifying there, Talviti did better his own time. If by less than a tenth, it still shows that by doing it twice, it was no fluke. That is actually going to be his pace in the race. So Ricciardi definitely has his work cut out for him coming from the back.
Yeah, of course, his pace will be slightly slower in the race, but everyone's in the same boat, so we're not expecting the gap to be very different. I think the drivers behind will have a slight advantage at first in terms of keeping up because of the slipstream, which can be used in a couple of places on this track. Although I can imagine that as soon as Talviti starts to break away, he's going to be pretty hard to catch. So if Williams, Lons, Finotti, or anyone else wants to challenge in this race, I suppose either they're going to have to hope for Talviti making a mistake, or they've got to get ahead of him early in the early stages of the race, possibly off the start, possibly on the first lap, and see if they can hold it. It's definitely doable, although whether it's likely in these circumstances is yet to be seen. Talviti definitely has the advantage going into this race, both in terms of the championship and in terms of the race. But anyway, all Ricciardi needs to do is keep pushing and stay in contention, and if something does happen to Talviti, he could still claim the championship. Meanwhile, it should be pointed out that Phil Brown, for some reason, has left the service, so I don't think Phil Brown's going to be taking the start, which is a shame, because Brown is one of the drivers who had made every single round of the championship so far, so this will be his only non-start of the series. But anyway, Pasha, 30 seconds to the lights, so your final thoughts before we get going.
Well, we saw... now Brown is back, so good. He did manage to bounce back in, so and it allowed him to reassume his grid spot. So we'll see how it goes. Ricciardi will have it all to do here, hoping to stay clean through turn 1, not get caught up in any melees at the start. Williams will be looking to jump out in front, as will Lond and Finotti, but Talviti will have his championship to guard as the lights come on.
And we're away here at Master Raceway Laguna Seca, and it's an excellent start from Talviti. And coming through as well, I believe that was Roberto Bali who got an excellent start from behind. Someone is on the gravel, but just about gets away with it. So Talviti leads, and off goes Ricciardi. Davide Ricciardi has been very, very wide. He's managed to keep it under control. I thought he was spinning there, and actually he's gained up at several places at the start, despite that slight mishap. So a little bit of raised blood pressure, I can imagine, but still keeps it running and keeps it in a pretty good position. Actually, he's now caught up to the back of Pablo Finotti, who, my apologies, was the driver who got an excellent start but then ran off onto the gravel. So a little bit of a hectic start, but anyway, in the background, Paulo Braga's had a bit of a nightmare. He's dropped back a couple of places. and lost a bit of time up the hill now. Talviti leading by 0.8 of a second from Lons, then it's Van der Geest, and further back Williams, Brown, Fanotti almost going side by side into the corkscrew, which is always tricky on the opening lap of the race. Luckily everyone makes it through cleanly, so a relatively clean first lap despite the light contact at the start. Oh, Fanotti going defensive from Riccardi there. And Riccardi, I think, might get him on the exit, has a better run towards 10-11, and he gets nudged, and Riccardi's in the gravel. Riccardi got a little nudge in the braking zone, went into the gravel, through goes Roberto Bali into 7th position, and now Riccardi's got a bit more work to do than what he had before. Rob Milliken spins in the background and gets passed by Braga. Davide Ricciardi back up to 7th position, Bali back down to 8th. But anyway, okay, hectic start there, Pasha.
Yes, Riccardi will be none too pleased about the move he had to try and make on Finotti, who has only rejoined us now after running the first 2 races, I believe, or maybe 3. But now Ricciardi has to get back past Finotti, who has the pace, but isn't really in the championship fight. That's going to make him a little sore. He's just going to have to calm it down a bit and just hit his marks and get back onto a pace where he can resume that fight.
If you remember the opening couple of rounds of the championship, Pablo Finotti was a real contender for podiums and even race wins, it seemed at times, but sadly had a couple of disconnections. I seem to remember he disconnected.
And Ricciardi overcooks
Ricciardi's
it.
in the wall. Ricciardi has had an instant there. He's where's that? That's in the corkscrew.
That's at the top
so
of the corkscrew. Yeah.
Did he spin on entry?
Yeah, the tail just swung wide on him, and around he went, trying to catch up to Finotti. So the frustration still getting to him after that lap 1 incident, and now and Talviti, insult to injury, setting the fastest lap of the race, and immediately Williams matches him.
Yeah, I do wonder whether Finotti may not have been able to get enough practice before the start of this race. There have been a couple of incidents already, but anyway, this is the fight for third. Williams getting underneath John Van der Geest, and looking to the outside of turn 3, is going for the cut back again. Van der Geest covers it off. Sacrifices exit speed but keeps that 3rd position, so that car body language shows me that Van der Geest doesn't think he can go after Lons for 2nd, and is content to just defend from Williams and maintain that 3rd position at this point in time, which can be a very valid strategy. No point allowing yourself to be vulnerable to attack if you know you're not going to be able to pull a move on the car in front. But anyway, the race continues. Ricciardi is now plumb stern last, and that's a big shame for him. We're in 11th position, so everyone's still running. Ricciardi not well at this point in time, and Tony Talviti appears to be romping to the championship, although early days, so I'm speaking too soon.
Yeah, still 85 minutes to go, as you say. At this point, now that the lap 1 jitters are over and the excitement of the start has calmed down a bit, the racers are starting to kind of settle into their pace and realize that there is still a lot of race to go. Though Talviti's still setting fast laps so far, it's only the 3rd, and there are plenty more to improve on that pace for everybody.
So we are indeed onto the 3rd lap of the race, and just to remind you of the order we're in, Tony Talviti is romping away at the front. Lauren Lund's 2 seconds back at this point in time. John Van der Geest a further 2 seconds back. Oh, and Williams spins. Williams is off from 4th place. He was challenging hard, and he stuffed it in the wall. So Andrew Williams there drops back to 6th position to 7th position. He's dropping like a stone. I'm not sure if he has any damage. I'm going to look at his steering angle as he goes down this next straight. His steering looks straight, so he's got away with that relatively okay. Meanwhile, in front, a light mistake from Phil Brown might make him slightly vulnerable to Pablo Finotti, but indeed, big mistake from Andrew Williams, who was running in 4th and is now down to P7, Pasha. Oh, and a spin, and it's Brown. So a lot of incidents at the start of this race already, and that's exactly in the place that Davide Ricciardi had his spin earlier on, the midway through the corkscrew.
Indeed.
And I expect it was a very similar incident, just looped it around on entry, right?
You have to just getting the car slowed down for entry to the corkscrew is such a tricky proposition, and if you overcook it in there, carry too much speed in, the tail can just swing around, and it bit Ricciardi early in the race, and now Brown as well.
And Brown's now down to 8th position, so he's been passed by Dennis Schenker, who's up to 7th in all of that. Meanwhile, first overtake for Davide Ricciardi since the spin. He's made his way past Rob Milliken, so Ricciardi back into the top 10. And now Williams already on the charge again, trying to gain his positions back, gets back up to P5. So a couple of improvements in the order. Williams up to P5, Bally down to P6, and up the front, the gap to the lead now 3.5 seconds. I don't see that coming in anytime soon.
Yeah, Telviti definitely showing showing some magic here in the early laps, and as we've seen in some of the other races this season, 4 of the next 5 cars are Ferraris, and they've been very evenly matched and haven't had nobody's really been able to show a big pace advantage between the Ferrari drivers. Williams certainly had the pace at Suzuka, but all the other drivers, it'll be tough for them if they end up with a separation between them. It'll be tough for them to close it back up, as evenly matched as they are in terms of car and skill.
Indeed, so the end of another lap. I think the closest duo on track at the minute are Ricciardi and Braga. So Braga Ricciardi around the outside of Braga, who again nudges him onto the gravel just a corner before, where he was nudged onto the gravel on the opening lap of the race. No one giving Ricciardi an inch today. And that was a little bit forceful there from Braga, especially since Ricciardi had so much overspeed going around the outside. Ricciardi somehow still sets his personal best lap of the race. I wouldn't have been surprised if it would have been a fastest lap of the race altogether if that incident hadn't occurred. And he's now going to go for it again around the outside, gets a slightly overcooks it, and isn't able to get through now. I think it's a matter of when rather than if here, although again they need to keep it clean because this is a little bit more forceful than I'd like. He's now on the inside, and that's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy. Through he goes, and Ricciardi's next target is Phil Brown, who unfortunately for him is about 10 seconds up the road.
Well, Braga definitely held him up on that lap. Ricciardi with a 125 and Braga with a 127, and Braga was braking much earlier for each corner than Ricciardi, and so he had to really climb on the brakes, which of course then unsettled his car and made it much more difficult for him to overtake and keep going up the field. So Ricciardi again, in a bit of a karmic retribution for some of the things that he's gotten tangled up with. Only the one incident that was subject to a steward intervention, but he's found himself at the center of a lot of drama this season, and now it seems to be coming back to haunt him in the finale. He's really going to have to just let it wash off of him and settle down and try to get back on the pace. And he sets his best lap of the race there with a 124.
Even if he does not win the championship today, he is guaranteed second place in the championship because there simply aren't enough points for his opponents to get back at him. And Johnny Gutierrez has not showed up today, so he will still be second in the championship, and that is nothing to be sniffed at. Meanwhile, Fanotti catching John Van der Geest. Van der Geest doing a great job in third place so far. I'm not sure he's actually had a podium yet this season. In fact, he hasn't, because this is... Wait, no, he did have one. So he is on his way for his second podium of the series, so long as he can hold off Pablo Fanotti there. Van der Geest, of course, fourth in the championship, just 1 point out of Phil Brown. So we've got a close fight for P4 in the championship, which will, still technically in contention for third in the championship, although would need to finish second. So I think that's probably a little bit too... Well, since Talviti and Lons are very sturdy at this point in time, it's a bit too much of an ask. But anyway, on to another lap of racing. Fanotti just 0.8 of a second behind Van der Geest at this point in time, so definitely getting closer. He was about 1.3 seconds back a couple of laps ago, as meanwhile Davide Ricciardi, I think, sets the fastest lap of the race. So
indeed,
really pushing. He's gained 3 seconds already on Brown.
With the clear track ahead of him now, after getting around Braga, Ricciardi has now wasted no time in trying to cut that gap down and work his way back up the field.
Sure, so, in fact, I correct myself, I correct myself saying that Van der Geest has not scored a podium yet this season. His podium, I think, came at Oschersleben. No, it didn't. It was one of the first two rounds. So it must have been... It was Virginia. So hasn't had a podium in a little while. That was October the 5th that race at Virginia took place. And I should have remembered that because that was actually a race that I commentated. So I feel a little bit ashamed about that. But anyway... we continue on our way, and Van der Geest is still holding that third position, but Finotti got closer still on that lap, gained about 2/10 of a second on him, almost 3/10 actually, looking at the times, and they're both being gained on by Andrew Williams behind, who's a little way back as it stands. So I think the fight for third is definitely the one to watch for now. That is until Ricciardi catches up to Phil Brown, because he took 2 seconds out of him on that last lap there.
Amazing pace from Ricciardi. He's not sure whether he's calmed down at all yet, but he's certainly setting the pace regardless, whether it's fueled by renewed focus or just just anger at this point. Doesn't matter. He's definitely catching back up, and he's not out of it by any means. There's still over 75 minutes to go, and he's been improving his pit stops race over race, and with as tight as the competition is and as small as the track is, all he needs is a couple of mistakes here and there from some of the other folks ahead of him, and he can definitely close the gap and work his way back up to the front.
So down the hill ahead, Van der Geest and Finotti. Finotti trying to get the momentum advantage over John Van der Geest. Salviti still pulling away up in front, sets his personal best lap of the race. Slight lock up there from Van der Geest coming out of the final corner. Finotti getting a little bit of a run, and he's going to gain about a 10th on that last lap. Indeed, another 10th gain for Finotti, so reeling him in closer and closer. Takes a tighter line into the Andretti hairpin there. Just taking a little look, showing Van der Geest that he's there. Van der Geest will be able to see him in his mirrors, and he will be feeling the pressure at this point in time. You can't miss the golden orange Celine S7R, I think, flashing all over your rear view. But anyway, the gap's still half a second, and within half a second at various points on the track, he will definitely be getting a good dose of slipstream down the straight, Pasha.
Yes, and I'm beginning to wonder if Finotti might have gone with a slightly lower down... Oh, as Van der Geest wags the tail going onto the Rahal Straight, I'm wondering if Finotti is going with a slightly lower downforce setup, because we've seen his car go very lightly over the crest here at the corkscrew on previous laps, and he had some interesting wiggles on exit on some of the early corners, so we'll see if that setup gamble pays off and he's able to run people down the straights and catch up on pace.
So they're almost side by side here down towards the final corner. Finotti taking the wider lane. Van der Geest looking like he's going defensive there, as if he expects to dive. It's a difficult place to dive, is the final corner, but whatever the case. Oh yeah, he's definitely got a slipstream there. I think he was intending to go for a dive bomb, although he saw that Van der Geest was covering it off and rightfully backed out of it. Andrew Williams has actually caught up to them now. Williams was briefly within a second in the braking zone there, I reckon. Yeah, in fact, Bill Brucock in the YouTube chat also pointing out that Andrew's getting closer. I reckon this is about to become a three-way fight for the third step of the podium between... Well, it goes without saying that it's between three cars because it's a three-way fight. But anyway, I'm waffling. It is indeed Van der Geest versus Finotti versus Williams. Finotti still the driver who looks to be the most likely to gain a place in this at this point in time. Although Van der Geest still holding strong down through the corkscrew again. And they're at that stage where it's extra difficult to really drive further, because there just isn't that much gap left on the road. And the turbulent air from behind the car in front makes it increasingly difficult to follow. But Van der Geest makes a mistake, gets it sideways, and through goes Pablo Finati to third place. We saw that it was likely coming, and now Van der Geest has to go highly defensive of another Ferrari behind him. The bright yellow Andrew Williams is on the attack.
Just a bit too much sausage curb coming up to the final hairpin, and Van der Geest had to catch the car. Finati was able to go through, and Williams, with the two of them fighting each other and compromising each other's lines, Williams has now caught up and is right on the bumper of Van der Geest for fourth place. And Ricciardi has already caught Phil Brown.
He has indeed. I'm also looking at Williams all over the back of made a mistake there. So I think Van der Geest is really feeling the pressure, and Williams goes for it. The inside, not quite. He's going to have to back out of that, but Van der Geest is going wide. Van der Geest went for the defensive braking, but manages to keep it within the lines and stays in that fifth position. Williams gets over the gravel in the braking zone and spins.
Oh.
Williams spins again, just like he did into the barrier earlier on in the race. That second incident we've seen from Williams, and that was simply him getting a bit overeager there, trying to pass John Van der Geest, tried to brake with two wheels on the gravel, and that is just not going to work.
Yep, just as in real life in Assetto Corsa, if you touch the edge of the pavement and go over it, it's very unforgiving. And once you in these cars, as touchy as they are already, get two tires on the slippery stuff, and around they go. And Williams fell victim to it there, and now has it all to do again to catch back up and renew the fight.
He really does. He's down in 9th position. He's 10 seconds behind Davide Ricciardi. So he has dropped a long way down the order. Oh, mistake for Paulo Braga. Braga's lost it in the corkscrew, and he's in the wall. So there's been an incident for him as well, and he drops to last position. So Rob Milliken now goes through into 10th place, and Braga is rounding out the field, so he's got some time to gain. But as we were talking about earlier, Ricciardi has indeed caught up to the back of Brown. And actually, as I've been talking, I think Van der Geest made a mistake in all of that as well, because he's now under pressure from Roberto Bali. And Bali was a long way back last time I looked at those two, so I think there's been a mistake from him. Paulo Braga is in the pits, presumably for damage repairs, and Ricciardi gets Brown. 7th position is his.
Brown, I think, was trying to defend there going into the corner, but then realized he was too far inside to make the corner and had to back off. And Ricciardi was trying to take advantage and overcooked it into the corkscrew again. But Brown, I think, exercising a bit of caution still with over an hour to go in the race, just sort of let Ricciardi go, knowing that the pace was faster, and then almost watched him spin the car at the end of the next straight.
These cars do slide in a weird way. When they get sideways, it almost looks as if they kind of lock up to the side. But anyway, I haven't driven a Assetto Corsa, so I don't know exactly how that feels when you're in the situation. Whatever the case, we've now got Denis Ishchenko on the back of the fight for fourth between Van der Geest and Bali. So again, we've got a three-way scrap, and I think Van der Geest is dropping back at this point in the race. I wonder whether Van der Geest is on the harder compound of tyre here than the others, because he's been dropping back since the start. Definitely had more pace relative to his opponents in qualifying. So I wonder whether we're going to see Van der Geest going for a longer first stint and a shorter second stint than these other drivers around him, but for the time being, holding off Bali and Ishchenko behind him.
Yeah, it's interesting to speculate. Also, because he's been in so many battles now, first with Finati and then with Williams, it's possible that he may have cooked his rear tires a little bit, feeling a little bit of the pressure, and now has to defend again from both sides with Bali behind, and now Ishchenko catching the both of them. As the more he defends, the more he's going to heat up those tires, and the more he's going to lose time to the folks that are still behind him. So it's an awkward position to be in, but Van der Geest can certainly rise to the challenge there. Ishchenko setting his best lap of the race with a 1:24, definitely catching these two Ferraris in front.
He is Denis Yashenko really pushing it at this point in time. The only Russian driver that we have in the field is Russian to catch up to the P4 fight, and he's very nearly in it at this point in time, just 7/10 of a second, 6/10 of a second there behind Roberto Bali, and Bali missing the apex slightly, Yashenko missing it even more so, but still both of them getting a good exit speed. And they're heading through one of my favourite corners in racing, a little bobbly flick. I'm not sure if bobbly is a real adjective, but the car kind of feels as if it like bubbles on the apex. You know what I mean, right? But anyway, it does feel like that. It's a fun corner. It's very, very fast. You do a slight tap on the brakes before turning in, and then just fling it. And through it goes. But anyway, slightly on the gravel there for Yashenko. Drops a little way back, but with the, well, judging by how close Van der Geest and Bali are, I don't think it's going to be long before Yashenko is right back with them again.
And of course, lurking there in the back is that orange Lamborghini. Ricciardi is knocking the seconds off. We have 125s from these guys and a 124.0 from Ricciardi, so he knocked a second off of this trio just on that lap. So he'll be arriving at this party shortly.
Indeed, I think this is actually the best I've ever seen Denis Yashenko drive. He is a driver I've watched racing in the past before. I've actually raced against him a couple of times, but never really been that much of a contender. He did score one podium in the Group C Honey Jar Series, but aside from that, it's been a little bit anonymous, but really charging here today. Of course, I say all of that with the utmost respect to Denis Yashenko. I always found him a very entertaining driver to watch. He is never one who likes to back out of a fight. But anyway, definitely seems to have found some pace today, and I should point out actually this is his first outing in the series so far, because he has raced with SimRacingOnline before, but not with the RSS GT1 Series if I remember correctly, so good to see him here, and good to see him fighting so closely and so competitively with the drivers around him. I think this is great from him so far.
Yeah, these cars are definitely not the sort of car that you can just jump into and drive, and to be able to show pace and keep up with these guys who have had all season to practice and learn their cars. It's really something to just leap in and perform this well, make some overtakes, and work his way up the field.
And he's fighting two drivers who aren't exactly easy drivers to beat either. He's racing Roberto Bali, who's another driver that I've fought long and hard with in the past. Had a really good fight with Roberto Bali in the World Series Formula V8 3.5 Championship earlier this year at Silverstone, where he beat me after I had a lag spike. But anyway, he actually went on to win that championship. He also went on to win our endurance series, two different endurance series, and a third one if you count, as Yashenko gets onto the gravel a bit, a third one if you count the GT3 endurance series that happened in April, as well as the SRO IndyCar Road Series this year, and the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. So Roberto Bali has 6 SimRacingOnline championships to his name. Oh, and Davide Ricciardi's caught them too. Look at that. Davide Ricciardi right on the back of this chain. Just saw a yellow nose poke into shot, and that is because Davide Ricciardi has been pulling them in.
Well, Yashenko just went a little bit wide there in turn 6 going up the straight. Ricciardi was able to catch up approaching the corkscrew, but then he showed the nose inside a bit and tried to rattle Yashenko, but he had none of it, and Ricciardi brakes, spins under braking again.
Oh no! Again,
disaster!
Davide Ricciardi has been having an absolutely horrendous day so far. He's made another mistake. I think oh my goodness! Actually, looking back at the broadcast, I have no idea what happened there.
I think he just had a bit of. He's wandering again. He's having a bit of a connection problem, perhaps a little bit of lag, and now.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that
looked a little bit like it looked a little bit like an iRacing netcode contact or something.
Yeah, I don't know whether that played into his difficulties braking for the corner and trying to stay off of Yashenko. But in any case, he's still wandering a bit. his problems today may not be done, as you can see him wandering around on the track with the game trying to keep track of him. Oh dear, it's another addition of insult to injury. If he deals with this much drama in the race and then also loses connection, he will be fuming trying to make his way back up the field.
Yeah. Lost 8 seconds with that, didn't lose a place, but did lose 8 seconds, and that's a big shame, especially since we don't even understand entirely what happened. It looked almost like there was an invisible car that just came out of nowhere like a cannonball and smashed into his side, but completely invisibly, we didn't see it. But anyway, Ashenko now to the inside of Bali, definitely took a look. Bali's going wide in defense. He was obviously late on the brakes to try to cover off Ashenko, and almost comes across his nose, but judges it absolutely perfectly. That was good driving there from Bali and Ashenko. But Bali keeping 5th position at this point in time. Ashenko getting a little bit crossed up there over the curb, and he's now going to have to catch up to them once again because he's dropped back about half a second in that. Bali's still on the tail of John Vandergeest, and I was just about to mention that as well as Bali having 4 championships to his name, John Vandergeest actually has 3 himself. He has the Group C / Flat 6 Multi-Class Endurance Series. He also won the Group C Honeyjar Series and the Alfa Romeo 8C Cup. All of those in 2018. Hasn't got a championship in 2019 just yet, but whatever the case, both of those drivers pretty good, pretty solid competitors. Ashenko keeping up with them. Davide Ricciardi, who caught onto their tail just now, is relatively new to SimRacingOnline, although does have a championship to his name. Oh, as Bali goes slightly wide.
Williams has gone off.
Although he does have...
Williams has gone off in turn 6 and has very suddenly he dropped to the pits and has disconnected. So apparently frustration catching up with him there, because I saw him go into the sand and then pit, but now has dropped off the server.
That's a shame, and that was where he spun a few laps ago as well, so I wonder if he had a very similar problem. But anyway, you know, we've lost Williams. He's our first official retirement from this race, which is a big shame, although still 10 cars running. I was going to say there, Ricciardi does already have a championship. His name is SimRacingOnline. He actually won the first series of the RSS GT1 Series, and of course is here to defend his title today. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to, unfortunately for him, although Talviti certainly deserves this championship. You can't deny that. And although I was going to say Ricciardi also, interestingly, has not won a race in any other series despite entering a few others. So that's interesting. Obviously, just really suits GT1s.
That's surprising, because he's been at or near the front in just about every series I've seen him in, but definitely enjoying some success this season. Talviti having his number in the last couple of races, but he's been on the podium. Oh no! And the 2 Ferraris get together.
Yeah, Vandergeest there lost control. Bali couldn't avoid him, and through goes Ashenko to 4th. So there was contact between the two of them. That was no fault of Roberto Bali. That was completely just Vandergeest losing control. Bali went to the left to try to avoid him. I think he thought he was going to have snap oversteer or something along those lines. Whatever the case, ran into the back of John Vandergeest, and now Ashenko is up to 4th.
Yeah, we were saying how tricky it is to both in braking and in applying the power in these cars. They're very twitchy and hard to handle. You can't give them any real sudden inputs on either end. And trying to accelerate out of the hairpin, they were both wiggling a bit and just got together. Ashenko able to pass them both in the opportunity, but Bali recovering nicely and catching right back up to him.
Also in the meantime, Davide Ricciardi, one of the 2 championship contenders in this race, is up to P6 because he's got ahead of Vandergeest, did not able to get ahead of Bali, but is now only 5 seconds behind him and gaining. But whatever the case, still Talviti leading the race by 22 seconds, so it's not going to matter that much for Ricciardi in terms of the championship. Bali gets a wheel on the gravel there, although still close in contention with Denis Ashenko, not getting the best of exits out of the final corner, and Ashenko will be classified in 4th position again as they cross the start-finish line, gaining 0.8 of a second over Bali on that last tour. But anyway, yeah, that's really quite something, a dramatic turn of events in this race, and Bally getting sideways again, so having a little bit of trouble at this point in time. But anyway, we are live on YouTube. We've got some YouTube comments pouring in. Bill Grucock asking Andrew Williams what went wrong. Andrew said, "I went sunbathing," I presume referring to going off into the sand, off into the beach. But anyway, hope you had plenty of Factor 50 available, says Bill Grucock. Nicely done. Dr. Frederick says, "I think that's the first time I've heard anyone referring to anything car/racing related as bubbly." Well, I said bubbly actually, but I suppose you do feel kind of bubbly when that corner goes right. I don't know. I'm just waffling at this point in time. So earlier on, Bill Grucock thanking me for fixing the audio. I'd like to point out Pasha Paterson alongside me here is dealing with the camera work and all of the audio technical stuff that goes along with it, and doing a great job so far. Hello as well to Marty McClune, who says, "Hi, good racing. Used to love racing GTR2 with these cars." Indeed, yeah, GT1 cars are fantastic cars to race. I haven't driven one myself. I would love to, but anyway, yeah, these cars were almost as quick as prototypes at times. Whatever the case, hello to Martin McClune and everyone else tuning in to the YouTube chat. But anyway, back to the racing, Pasha.
Yep, Ricciardi still continuing to catch up to Bally and Ashenko. I'm shocked after that incident with John Van der Geest how little time Bally actually lost in that battle. He was able to stay with Denis Ashenko for more than a lap, but now Ashenko, with clear track ahead of him, seems to have the pace to pull away from them a bit. But of course, lurking behind them again is Ricciardi as he goes through that tricky turn 6, like you were saying. Caitlin, when you get that corner right, it just feels so like such an accomplishment, and then when you get it wrong, as Andrew Williams found out, you're rather suddenly invited to a beach party.
So yeah, indeed. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted there, but whatever the case, Ricciardi has caught Roberto Bally again, hand over fist. He's within a second of him now. Still plenty of time to go in the race, 57 minutes to be exact, or 57 minutes and 4 seconds now. But anyway, that is until the checkered flag comes out. Now, if I remember correctly, we are expecting a pit stop. Yeah, we are. So that will probably take place in the next, probably the next 20 minutes or so. We'll be seeing these drivers making their stops. You theoretically could run an hour and a half with these cars on one set of tyres and one fuel tank, but you need to be moving about the pace of a snail. So these drivers don't do that. They make a pit stop instead, because it is just quicker and safer. But anyway.
In the first couple of races of the season, we even saw a couple of people going on a two-stop strategy just to perhaps use softer tires and maybe gain some pace on the track. But with the one pit stop, we've seen a couple of people, Johnny Gutierrez at Donington, and I think again at Suzuka, as we see Ricciardi blowing past Bally coming down the corkscrew. That was amazing. He just ran on by. You can see his car twitching a bit, though. I don't know if that's just because of his aggressive line, or perhaps the connection's still a little bit choppy. We hope that clears up a bit and he doesn't have to suffer another connection issue like he did at Spa, because this chase, if it continues, is bound to get good with a 1:23.4. He's not done catching up to the leaders and proving himself today.
Now, what we like to see as a fighter, we like to see drivers continuing on no matter what befalls them. And I've seen top drivers, I've seen champion sim racers sometimes completely just giving up and quitting because one thing went wrong. fact, I had a race very recently where a world's fastest gamer contender, who was in contention for a championship with prize money, just abandoned the race altogether because he was slightly knocked by another contender. But anyway, these drivers don't have the same kind of attitudes. They're here just for the fun of it. And as a result, we'll keep pushing on and try to get something out of it and try to enjoy it, no matter what befalls them, especially if they're in a championship fight like Davide Ricciardi is. In fact, Ricciardi looks as if he's just about to gain 4th position here, because he has gained about a second this lap already on Denis Ashenko and is now going for the place there.
Right up the inside.
Davide Ricciardi, big dive, makes it stick. Well done, Davide. Ashenko sees him coming, doesn't turn in. Well done, Dennis. And that's 4th place to Ricciardi. So, despite 3 spins already, Davide Ricciardi still continuing on his way and doing a great job, and looks to still be in contention for a podium if he continues on at this pace.
For whatever other adjectives you may use to describe Ricciardi's driving style this season, conservative would certainly not be one of them, and he's showing that today, just throwing it up the inside there and making it stick somehow. Just magic or force of will or something, but now well and truly up into 4th place, has some clear track ahead of him before he gets to Finati, and still with a lot of race to go. He's not done trying to catch up with Talviti and make this a fight again.
I'm calling it now. Ricciardi's either going to finish on the podium or in the tyre wall. And just as I say that, I may have cursed him. I may have done. Oh my word. Gets over the grass. Looked as if he was going to spin it around. I was so worried there. I was ready to admit all responsibility for his retirement. But Davide Ricciardi, great save, keeps it under control. But as you say, there probably could do with being a little bit more conservative, because we've seen him make a couple of mistakes already today. And wow, that got the heart racing. Ricciardi getting very, very squirrely over the gravel. Drops back to 5th place. He's going to have to do his move on Ashenko all over again. So Ashenko back through to 4th. But yeah, I think I'm right about my prediction there, Pasha.
But what a feat of driving to keep that thing out of the wall. As far as he was off the track and into the runoff area, to keep that car from spinning and bring it back onto track and not even lose a place other than the one he had just taken from Ashenko. Just an incredible feat of driving. We've seen people just today in that same situation. Unfortunately for them, not fair as well, but Ricciardi, in good times and bad, showing why he's at the top of the points.
Yeah, goodness me. Anyway, continues on his way, and he's now catching Ashenko at the point on the track where he made his mistake. Go. Let's see how this corner goes. Taking it much nicer, although still not conservative. Getting an excellent slingshot and catching almost onto the back of Ashenko into the corkscrew. That would have been an almost suicidal place to have gone for a move. Ashenko keeps it under control, keeps it steady, and gets a much better run there through turn 9, known as Rainy Curve. And now, as we head towards the final corner, I expect Ricciardi is going to set it up. Well, they've actually got a bit of lap traffic coming up here. That's Rob Milliken in the Lister, and Lons. Wait, what's going on? Okay, well, there was a problem with the timing screen there. It looks as if everyone's okay at the top of the order. Yeah, saw a couple of places switching around. My apologies for confusing anyone, and I think that that was probably because John Van der Geest pitted, maybe? Could that have messed up the timing screen? Not sure, but whatever the case, John Van der Geest is in the pits. The order remains pretty much the same as it was before, despite the dodgy timing screen, and Ashenko and Ricciardi have just lapped Milliken safely.
As we were saying before, with Laguna Seca being a bit of a shorter track than they've been racing on recently, even with people stretching out a lead, they're still going to be contending with traffic all the way around. And Milliken, with just a slightly slower pace, has now started to be overtaken by the leaders, but was able to find a place to slowly let this battle through and not get caught up in it.
Yeah, I heard thoroughly just confused everyone, because I've just looked back at the broadcast and the same timing glitch did not happen on the broadcast screen. So it was just me for some weird reason, and I don't know why that would have been, but never mind. The race continues on its way. Ricciardi tries to set himself up for the slipstream on the exit of the final corner. I like the way that Ashenko isn't just giving him the place. He's saying, you have to get alongside me to go for the move, and that's exactly what's going on. No. And again, good driving from both of them there. Ricciardi gets the place, although Ashenko's still there on the exit, and Ricciardi turns in, sweep through. Ashenko's still not done with it, is he? But there we go, Ricciardi 4th place. Now he has to make sure he keeps it, unlike last time. Keeps it within the lines, keeps it in that 4th position, and starts to hunt down Finotti, who's 3.6 seconds ahead of him at this point in time.
As hard as you have to brake to make that corner through the Andretti hairpin, it's just astounding that these two kept that battle clean and Ricciardi was able to make that pass. It's showing why these... the drivers in this series are some of the best in this league, and they're showing off their skills today, making moves like that and not ending up in the sand.
I love it, I really do. When you see racing this close, it's just phenomenal. But anyway, Ashenko now to stick with Ricciardi, although Ricciardi, of course, just has supreme pace. We've seen it all year. And he's already gained about 0.7 of a second on Pablo Finotti. Meanwhile, a landmark for Tony Talviti. He's pulled out half a minute already from Laurent Lons, leading by that much. That's absolutely incredible there from Tony Talviti. I've won races by over 40 seconds in the past, but only with less competitive fields than this, with respect to those championships. When you're racing people such as Laurent Lons and Pablo Finotti, 31 seconds really does mean a lot, a heck of a lot in fact. And indeed, Tony Talviti absolutely running away with it. And Pasha, how do you gain 31 seconds in just 42 minutes?
On a track where you're only running a 90-second lap, it's just an incredible pace he's been able to open up at the front of the field. But of course, as we've seen, many of the mistakes we saw in the first few laps were because of sort of the concertina effect, people running up on each other, particularly in the heavy braking zones at Andretti and in the corkscrew. Perhaps just by nature of being in the front, Talviti hasn't had to make any room for anybody in front of him and has been able to just focus forward while everyone else is fighting for their lives behind him.
And Lons pits from 2nd position. So we are now well and truly in the pit stop stage. We saw Van der Kies pitting just now. Now it's Lons' turn. So Laurent Lons, I suspected he may have been one of the drivers on the softer tyres, judging by his pace at the start of the race. Puts it in the pit box, and he will go to the end on this next set of tyres and this next fuel load. So these drivers would have likely done their calculations before the race. Some may have done practice race stints. Meanwhile, Davide Ricciardi has caught up to Pablo Finotti, so this is effectively for the podium, even though Ricciardi is in 3rd position on the road at this point in time. In fact, Will Grewcock called it in the chat. He said pit stops should start soon. Indeed they did, because we've had Laurent Lons in, and Lons will hope he comes out in clean air, because that's an important thing to keep in mind around this pit stop stage.
No.
And Ricciardi's off again. Ricciardi's off once again at the corner that he went off at just a couple of laps ago. This time he's not going to lose a place because Ashenko's a couple of seconds back. But Ricciardi really needs to make sure he stops doing that, because that's a little bit hairy as he laps Braga there. And got a bit sideways there as well. But yeah, Ricciardi just needs to concentrate, Davide. And you'll most likely score a podium, but if you don't, you're most likely going to throw it all away. Into the pits now come both Finotti and Ricciardi. So 2nd and 3rd on the road pitting, 3rd and 4th in the effective order. If Lons is able to keep that 2nd place, Lons actually hasn't come out in clean air. He's got a driver. I believe that's Talviti actually. So got Talviti just ahead of him, and we can conclude from that pit stops here will take probably about 50 seconds.
Yeah, it's a much shorter pit straight here, certainly, than some of the tracks like Spa, which is just an eternal ride down towards La Source. And then it'll be interesting to see. I haven't tried pit stops myself. Don't know whether it's fuel or tires that takes more time to change in these cars. But it'll be interesting to see who tries to stretch the first stint out, and whether they can shorten their time in the pits and perhaps gain a few seconds. As Assento's showing right on the timing. He is slow going through turn 5.
Yeah, he's recovering from a spin there. I didn't see it happen, but getting up to pace, and something probably just happened there to Denis Assenko. Also into the pits on that last lap was Phil Brown, but yeah, that's a little bit of a shame for Assenko. He had been running in 5th in the effective order up until now, and running his best. I still think this is the best I've ever seen him drive, despite that mistake. And now he just needs to make sure that he doesn't replicate that in the remaining 44 minutes of the race. Doesn't yet pit. I'm a little bit surprised by that, because he's likely to have flat-spotted tyres. Into the pits does come Paulo Braga, who's currently running about a minute behind the car ahead of him, Rob Milliken, but again, he's one of those drivers who doesn't give up and keeps running, which I always appreciate. Brown's been in the pits for a little bit longer than I would have expected, but I'm going to hesitate before I jump to call it a problem. Unfortunately, I think there may be a little problem for Phil Brown here, but anyway. And Ricciardi now has caught back up to Finotti. That didn't take him long at all.
Yes, and now they're nose to tail in the section of the track where we had difficulties and drama before, and they touch again going into the hairpin.
Wow, weren't those the two cars that came together on the opening lap of the race?
Indeed, in the same place. This time, Ricciardi taking the inside and was able to hold the car in line and continue. Phil Brown has dropped out from the pits.
That's a shame. I thought I saw I thought he was taking too long. Anyway, Tony Salviti's now in the pits. Oh, and Contact Bali and Assenko have come together in the corkscrew.
Oh, dear.
They were fighting over second on the road. Assenko pointing backwards, and I only caught the end of that. I didn't see how it happened. Bali was in front, so possibly a misjudgment for Assenko. Maybe Bali lost it and Assenko went into him. I don't know, this is only speculation at this point in time, but anyway, the two of them came together. Talviti now exiting his pit box. He's going to have a sizable lead still. Such was his buffer before he came in. He's actually not, because Roberto Bali's going through, although Bali's yet to stop, so that doesn't matter too much for Talviti. May hold him up slightly unless he can get past Bali quickly. Oh, and Talviti makes a slight mistake on pit exit. Bali leads the race, although hampered a little bit by that collision with Assenko there.
Yeah, from the look of the debris field there in the corkscrew, it looked like someone had run wide. I don't know whether that was misjudging the brake point or whatever, but whatever the case, they were very lucky that someone wasn't coming up behind them on the Rahal Straight and going over the blind crest of the corkscrew, only to find them blocking the track. So all things considered, if they were going to have a contact like that, it worked out for the best, and now they're back underway. And Talviti sort of stuck between them now.
From what I saw, it looked as if they both ran wide and just kind of slid into each other. But anyway, again, I didn't see the very start of the incident, so I can't say for sure. Although it looked like a racing incident from the little bit that I did see. Right now, Tony Talviti is being held up a little bit by Roberto Bali, who'll be negatively affected by his turbulent air, but Bali now pits, so Talviti is released, and I expect he would have lost probably about 0.2 of a second at most, so it wouldn't have really cost him that much at all. And since he already had a 32-second lead, I don't think 0.2 of a second are going to matter that much to him. Into the pits goes Roberto Bali, stops in his box. Assenko goes through, so Assenko still yet to stop, and I think he's our only driver in the field yet to stop. I'm not sure if Rob Milliken has been in yet, although I know that, actually, looking at the order, I don't think Rob Milliken has. So we've still got Assenko and Milliken yet to pit. In the listers, that's interesting. I wonder if the listers are slightly better on their tyres or fuel, potentially. But anyway, Bali now dropping down the order, as is expected when a pit stop takes place, and I'm mainly interested to see where he comes out in relation to Van der Geest. Oh, miles ahead, my goodness. Van der Geest, of course, was racing with Bally earlier, but Bally's going to have possibly a 10-second, maybe even 15-second advantage over him there.
Yes, Bally just now exiting the pits, although one of the things you have to really watch at Laguna, both on entry and exit from the pits, they're very tight. I'm almost surprised that when we saw Ricciardi entering the pits, he was coming in very hot, nearly brushed the wall coming onto pit entry. But it looks like Bally's going to get away here, even though Van der Geest setting his best lap of the race there, still 16 seconds back. So Bally's going to get away with it there and remain in 6th.
Anyway, so Talviti leading by 7 seconds from Ashenko, who still doesn't pit. So Ashenko is still continuing in 2nd, and I expect that he will probably come out behind Bally, because I can't imagine he's going to be going particularly quickly on these older tyres. Although I don't expect he'll come out that much behind Bally, maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and will probably start to attack towards the end of the race. He should still come out well ahead of John Van der Geest once he stops. Meanwhile, Pablo Finotti sets his personal best lap of the race, so maybe not quite given up yet, and possibly even chasing down Ricciardi, although I think that would be tough to say the least, because Ricciardi is now right on the back of Laurent Lons, going for what may end up being the fight for 2nd position in the order. And this is important in terms of not just a race, but the championship as well. Because if Talviti was to drop back suddenly and start racing with these drivers, and Ricciardi was to win the race, of course that would give Ricciardi the championship. And I always say that if you can run 2nd, you can win the race. All you need is for one bad thing to happen to the leader. So this is a crucial position for Davide Ricciardi, and he knows it, and he is going to be going for it for all that he's worth.
Indeed he will, and it's interesting to think about all the mishaps that Ricciardi has faced coming up from the back of the field. Any one of those off-track excursions, had it not happened, he would have been perhaps already in open track. He's going through on Land, and now has more clear track ahead to catch Ashenko, who owes us a pit stop. So once that happens, we will now have the Tony and Davide show once again. And with Johnny Gutierrez not showing up today, we're now looking at a championship fight where between Talviti and Ricciardi, whoever finishes ahead on track will take the championship.
We now have the top 2 drivers in the championship as the top 2 drivers in the race. That's what we love to see at a championship decider, and it may not be a close fight for the win at this point in time. There's still 31 seconds separating the two of them, with 37 minutes left to go in the race. So even if Ricciardi is the faster driver at this point in time, there's really not that much he can do about it, and you have to wonder what he could have done if he hadn't had to start from the back of the grid. But anyway, he's been driving a fantastic race so far. Andrew Williams says that is a great pass to do that there. Indeed, certainly pulled it off in grave circumstances. Bill Gruycock says shut eyes and stick elbows out. That's how it works sometimes, although hopefully with a bit less shut eye. Anyway, Davide Ricciardi now up to what will be 2nd position once Ashenko finally stops, although Ashenko again going for another lap. He stayed out for almost an hour here. This is a long run from Denis Ashenko, but it appears to be working okay for him. He's not really dropping back that much at this point in time too. Davide Ricciardi is still 20 seconds ahead of him, and still running a pretty decent pace as well. But anyway, Rob Milliken is now in the pit from 8th position, meaning the only driver we still have yet to stop is Denis Ashenko. And once he does stop, it will be Talviti and Ricciardi 1-2 in both the race and the championship.
Now we have Braga off. Can't tell where this is. Oh, it's in the hairpin, coming out on the front straight, so he's had some sort of difficulty braking for the hairpin, perhaps. He's back underway. Yeah, it's interesting. You made the point before about the listers having a bit better mileage. We've seen it so far this season with Gutierrez as well. He tended to run much longer first stints, perhaps trying to shorten the fuel stop and gain a bit of an advantage in the pits.
Good point.
It didn't quite work out for him at Donington. He led for a significant part of that race, but ended up surrendering the lead back to Talviti at the end. But it's interesting to see whether Aschenko can gain enough of an advantage. He's only 18 seconds up on Ricciardi, so he will certainly give up that place, but it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in the order and how much of that time he's able to make up by simply having a shorter stop.
Still, his pace is very good. He's just a second a lap off Talviti and Ricciardi at this point in time on tyres that old compared to those drivers on those tyres. That's very impressive.
Yes.
Ricciardi, meanwhile, sets the fastest lap of the race. He's chasing that gap down. Again, still 30 seconds off Talviti, so really doesn't need to push at this point in time, but he will not want to give up. He will want to be there to capitalize if Talviti does make a little mistake or something. And anyway, it continues to push, and I'd say probably worthy of the Driver of the Day award so far, even though we have 34 minutes left in the race. But you have to say, Talviti is doing an absolutely phenomenal job out in front, and certainly will deserve this championship at the end. And actually, it's getting closer for third place now, because Lons has been caught by Finotti.
Yep, Finotti has been making up significant time here. He's just diving over the corkscrew, but making it stick. Talviti, it's easy to say that, he's been in the lead, he's had clear track ahead of him, so of course he's setting faster laps, but he's setting the faster laps of the race, and, it's by whole seconds at times, so he's not just taking advantage of an opportunity, he's also able to capitalize on it by actually being faster. Ricciardi, though, now that he's finally free of the traffic, he also set a 123 and I believe a 122 on a previous lap. So it's not over. There's still half an hour to go.
There is, and as we know, GT1 racing and racing in general is unpredictable. Murray Walker, of course, used to say that if is F1 spelled backwards, and it doesn't really work with GT1, that would be Itug or something along those lines. But anyway, Lund's still ahead of Pablo Finotti by 0.4 of a second. That's definitely coming in. Rob Milliken sets his personal best lap of the race on fresh tyres. You go, Rob. Still running down in 8th position, but appears to be making the most of it and having fun. That's good to see for Rob, who is very much the spirit of SimRacingOnline. Drivers who turn up knowing that they're not necessarily going to be in contention for the win, but keep turning up anyway, pretty much at any opportunity that they can, just because they love their sim racing, they love their motorsports, and they love giving it their best shot. Even if they are going to finish a lap down, whatever the case, continuing on his way and improving all the time.
It's a good point, because that consistency just of showing up and doing well, it's paid off for him. He was embroiled in one of the best battles of the race at Donington, ended up finishing 8th, if I remember right, and he's in the top 10 of the points just for coming out and giving it his all. And like you say, he's very much the spirit of just getting out there and turning the laps and making the most of it.
With that being said, he has actually got 2 SimRacingOnline championships to his name, the World Endurance Championship and the SimRacingOnline GT3. However, those were both back in mid-2017, so hasn't won for a while, but still, not bad indeed. I know he's one of the drivers who probably would do a lot better if he had more time to practice. Doesn't really get that much time before the race, and just kind of turns up to see how well he can do and enjoy it. But anyway, hasn't actually got a victory yet in 2019. Would very much like one. But anyway, great to see him still in the race. Another one of those drivers, of course, Paulo Braga, currently running in 9th position, the last runner on track.
Ooh.
And I don't recognise the name Paulo Braga actually. So,
Van der Geest losing it, I think that's in turn 3, just in front of Talviti. Almost smashes into the side of Van der Geest's car, but they all get lucky there and are able to continue. But almost disaster for the leader of the race catching up to Van der Geest there.
wow, that was close. Indeed, yeah, but I was gonna say, SimRacingOnline, not the most professional of series, but that's okay because it doesn't have to be. This is a series where anyone can turn up and have fun, no matter what, no matter how good you are, no matter how fast you are. And if you do want to get involved, then you should go to simracingonline.co.uk. It's a great place for newer sim racers or older sim racers who don't get that much time to practice, to just go and have some fun every so often. It's got a good team atmosphere. Meanwhile, John Van der Geest makes his second stop. It's got a good community atmosphere, and we hold races on R Factor 2, Assetto Corsa Competizioni, Automobilista, Project Cars 2, R Factor 1, and also I expect some other sims are upcoming as well. So. Whatever sim you use, whatever platform is your favorite, you're absolutely welcome to come along and enter with that, so long as it's one of the sims that I just listed out. We've actually got another race going on right now over on R Factor 2. Sadly, not a broadcast one, but that's one that's going on at the Nordschleife. We've got the championship finale going on for that series, but I'm sure we're going to be hosting other series like that in the near future. And tomorrow, if you want to challenge me, I'm going to be racing in the SimRacingOnline Ferrari Challenge Championship on R Factor 2. So if you've got R Factor 2 and you want to come and give me a go, I actually won the race last time out. So bring it on.
Ah, well done.
Thank you. Anyway, so that's the end of my indirect boast, I suppose. I've been watching Pablo Finotti chasing down Laurent Lans and sticking 0.6 of a second behind him. I think we do have a problem for John Van der Geest because we saw him spin a lap ago. He's been in the pits now for quite a while, so possible damage repairs for him. I wonder if he had a proper accident with the barrier potentially, but appears to be sitting in the pit box for much longer than we'd expect, and it may end up being a third retirement. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully he'll return to the track. John Van der Geest is one of the championship organisers, of course, with SimRacingOnline. One of the veterans of the series, who helps to run the broadcast, such as the one that you are watching right now. And I know that neither me or Pasha would be speaking for you now without his contributions to the league, and he does now rejoin the race. It's good to see that he's likely going to finish. He rejoins the track, and he is currently in 8th position, Pasha.
As you say, he may have had an unfortunate encounter with the wall, but as you recall, earlier in the race he had a spin as well. I wonder if he decided at that point to simply go on a two-stop strategy, maybe take some softer tires and make up some time, because this is about half an hour since then.
I don't think that'll work, but it's certainly not unlikely. Anyway, back in the race, he is about a minute behind Rob Milliken, and a little way over 2 minutes ahead of, over half a minute, ahead of Braga, so not in a fight at the minute. But anyway, talking of fights, Lon's going defensive now. Finotti surely will get the better exit to the corner with the cutback. He's in the slipstream of Laurent Lans, not going to be quite close enough into the Andretti hairpin this time around, but that certainly looked like Lans was coming under pressure there, and feels the pressure again through the Andretti hairpin. Finotti all over his tail, and again getting a better exit this time around. We now have 26 minutes left in this 1.5 hour race. So we're into the final third of it. Still a little way to go, but Fanotti and Lons fighting like it's the final lap. Here we go.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ashenko still owes us a pit stop with 25 minutes to go.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I don't think it's possible to go the full way without stopping, but
if he's
you're right. Yeah, he's still on track. He's actually holding up Ricciardi at this point in time.
If he's
completely entitled.
Yeah, if he's able to pit only for fuel and save his tires, perhaps he'll make up some time there and leap over some of the folks behind him. That would be some strategy play there.
Well, here comes Ricciardi. These two aren't racing for position, or at least we don't think they are, because Ricciardi at this point in time is about 2.5 seconds per lap faster. Ashenko sees him coming, and again good driving between the two of them. These two have been very respectful of one another all day, and Ricciardi does go through to second on the road now. He's 24 seconds back from Tony Talbiti, so he's gained 6 seconds, but again, too little too late with just 24 minutes remaining in this race. Ashenko is starting to lose time now, and I'd be surprised if he could go this whole way without stopping for both fuel and tires. But yeah, you're right, he's still on the road, he's still in that podium position, and I suppose if nothing else, this is going to give him a bit more camera time than he's used to, and I've actually seen very similar things in the past from Dennis, with him going pitting late. I seem to remember one time. Oh, what's happened?
Braga just spun just in front of Ricciardi and Ashenko in the corkscrew. Both were able to avoid him, but that was another skip of the heartbeat for both of them as they tried to avoid the spinning Celine in front of them.
Yeah, you're right. What I was going to say, I seem to remember a race at Mosport, Canadian Time Motorsport Park, a little while ago, where Ashenko did a very similar thing to this. And we've also seen him in the past not wanting to give race leaders an inch when he's being lapped, which you don't actually have to, because SimRacingOnline has a rule which says you don't have to give way for the leaders, even when blue flags are showing. It's the responsibility of the leader to get through cleanly. So despite that, Ashenko not wanting to give an inch, but yeah, definitely dropping back a little way now, and it's hard to see at this point in time what he's gaining out of staying out for this long, but judging by how deliberately he's doing all of this, he clearly knows more than we do, and if it works out for him, then good for him.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's trying to simply do a fuel-only stop and perhaps gain some time there, but his issue now is that with that battle with Ricciardi as they went into the Andretti hairpin, while they gave each other lots of room, they both locked up the tires, and it may be that he's cooked them a little, and his his strategy may be in jeopardy here if he can't hold the car together.
Braga there went straight into the gravel to get out of the way of Lons and Fanotti, and he spun. He spun trying to rejoin the track, went off, I think, deliberately to try to get out of the way without being too much of an issue. But anyway, lucky no one else was coming through there. That could have been a lot worse. But anyway, whatever the case, Fanotti and Lons were not separated too much by it. They're just two. It looks as if Lons gained about 0.2 of a second on that last lap, but Fanotti definitely getting the better run through turn 1. Braga's now in the pits, so possibly he's cooked his tyres a bit and needs a new set. I wouldn't be surprised because we've seen him spin a couple of times in the last few laps. So anyway, we'll see if he rejoins the road again. John Van der Hees, meanwhile, setting his personal best lap of the race. He's got completely clean air down there in 8th position, and I'm not entirely surprised to see him setting his fastest lap of the race at this point, since he has nothing to lose really, and also
Ricciardi's off. Oh no!
Yeah.
In the corkscrew again. Oh!
And oh my word! just avoided by Ashenko. Great avoidance from Dennis. But yeah, Ricciardi's had yet another spin, And unfortunately, I'm going to have to take back what I said earlier about him being the driver of the day. I think he's just made one too many mistakes for that here. But anyway, still doing a great job. And finally, Ashenko pits. Finally, Denis Ashenko makes his stop. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. Meanwhile, Paulo Braga has rejoined the field. So that's wonderful to see. Definitely the spirit of the race there for Paulo Braga. He's a lap down, but he's still giving it his best shot. Ashenko drops out of the podium places. Ricciardi is up to second, 37, almost 38 seconds behind Tang Talviti, but 6 seconds ahead of Laurent Lons and Fanotti, who are fighting over fourth. Ashenko is going to exit the pits, and it looks to me as if he is going to come out ahead of Bali. So somehow he's going to gain from this.
Oh, and Ricciardi's tires are roasted, and he's lost it again, but after turn 4.
No.
Now has London Fanotti coming up behind him. You were saying
They've gone through.
You had made the prediction of Ricciardi will either end up on the podium or in the wall. Perhaps he's trying to make it both here, but he's somehow gathered the car back up and has rejoined the chase.
Yeah, he just went over the dry grass, and that unsettled him. But he was off the road for quite a while before he started spinning. So I just think that he's a little bit distracted today, potentially. He had a very similar drive, I seem to remember, at Virginia, where he led the race earlier on, and then started making a lot of mistakes, which allowed Talviti to go through and win. But I may be getting that confused. It may have been the other way around. Not entirely sure, but may have even been Henri Miettinen he was racing with. Ricciardi now, getting a little bit of a better exit than Fanotti, and going contact, and that was Fanotti coming across there. Fanotti came across, and I'm afraid they both bounced off the barrier, so potential damage to both cars, and they have to be careful rejoining the road now because there may be cars coming through. Ricciardi has third position, Fanotti down to fourth. I don't think there'll be too much damage because they didn't hit the wall that hard. But yeah, Ricciardi had nowhere to go there. They were side by side, and I'm not sure that Fanotti knew that they actually had an overlap.
I don't. It's tough to say without being in the car, but it looked like there was just a tiny bit of overlap. Like as you say, Fanotti may have assumed that he was clear and just tried to take the line. But whatever the case, I didn't mean to jinx anyone by posting the video of the 2009 IMSA or ALMS race in which Jorg Bergmeister and Jan Magnussen had a very similar incident there at the finish.
They did.
But
in the GT2 category.
Yeah, but they seem to be Ricciardi's car is tracking straight enough. We'll go back to Fanotti and see if Fanotti has a broken windshield at least, so he'll be dealing with that for the rest of the race.
Yeah, that won't affect him too much. Their steering still looks straight at look, and they appear to be handling relatively okay. But anyway, possibly a little bit shaken after that. I can imagine that Fanotti will try to stick with Ricciardi. We'll see how successful that will be. He has more chance of doing so if Ricciardi has damage, although I think probably out of the two of them, Ricciardi would have got away better, since Fanotti, I think, hit the wall harder. But anyway, 0.6 per second was the gap as they crossed the start-finish line that last time around, and I think Fanotti's made a slight mistake on the entry there. Denis Ashenko, meanwhile, behind them, setting his personal best lap of the race, and, well, I'm not surprised because he probably doesn't have that much fuel in the car at this point compared to some of his rivals, and also he potentially brand new tyres. I have to assume he's on brand new tyres since he's suddenly back on the pace again, and he gained a lot by that. He's 15 seconds ahead of Bali.
His lap actually equaled Talviti's pace on that lap, so he is not done with this race. Word. He may actually catch these two, particularly if they continue to tangle with each other for the last podium place.
Bill Krukok says this will keep the bodywork shop guy busy. Indeed it will. We've had a few dented panels, a few things to scuff out. What's happened?
Fanotti has spun at the top of the corkscrew trying to keep up with Ricciardi, and thrown some more dirt back onto the track, and now a bit more shiny metal showing through what's left of the paint on that saline.
Quite a popular place to spin so far today, isn't it?
It's such a tricky entry, and with these cars as tail happy as they are already, and I was wondering before if Fenati was running a bit less downforce to try and gain some top speed on the straights, and whatever the case, he loops it again, trying to apply the power coming down the hill, and around he goes again.
Denis Ashenko now sets his personal best lap of the race again. He's really trying to catch up.
Oh, perhaps a little too hard, as he eats some sausage curb there going through the hairpin. But as you say, another 123. He's equaling the leader's pace here with 15 minutes to go.
And with Fenati making that mistake on the last lap, he may well catch 4th place here, possibly in the next 5 minutes or so.
As you can see him lurking in the background there, Fenati trying to get his car back up to speed and peer through the broken glass of his windshield, but Ashenko is gaining on him significantly now.
Another lap, another improvement for Denis Ashenko through the bubbly curve, I suppose I should call it now. Up the hill, the Rahal straight towards the corkscrew. Popular place to spin. Ooh, Ashenko going through the gravel, overcooking it a little bit too much, just leaving his braking too late. And actually gained a little bit of time out of that, but we don't have live stewards, so no one say anything. Whatever the case, Ashenko continuing on his way. 2.6 seconds now the gap between him and Fenati. And as they cross the timing line again. Yeah, Ashenko gained 0.8 of a second on Fenati through that last lap. Some of that probably by cutting the corkscrew. I reckon probably 0.3 of a second at best. Although still, you can tell that Ashenko is pushing and really flying as he tries to chase down the Celine of Pablo Fenati.
Even having to check up and save his car, he's now under 2.5 seconds, where the gap was 3.5 seconds just in the last lap. So he is definitely catching Fenati, who may be nursing some roasted tires after the incidents with Ricciardi. This is going to be a battle to watch for the last 15 minutes.
Dr. Frederick has posted an excuse for the bubbly thing. Says, I blame the non-Virginian accent, which mate is a tune for. Jolly good, I suppose. Anyway.
Nice of y'all to be kind to me since I talk so funny.
Anyway, so just 1.5 seconds now separating Fenati from Ashenko. Ashenko definitely, I think, making an even bigger improvement on him this lap than the lap before. And as they cross the line, we'll see just how much of an improvement it is. This is surely a new personal best. Well, not quite for Ashenko, but still gained 1.5 seconds over Fenati. If he does that again this lap, he'll be ahead of him.
Exactly. He's cut it in half in 2 laps.
Is in the pits again. Ooh. That's his 3rd stop. We've got a real problem for John Van der Geest here, because it is not natural for cars to go into the pits 3 times in 1.5 hour race. So real problems for Van der Geest. Is this the retire? He's moving very, very slowly, possibly trying to look for his pit box. I reckon we may be losing John Van der Geest from the race somehow.
I don't see any damage on the car, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And actually, the fact he was moving slowly to see his pit box shows that he intends to rejoin the race. So, not sure why he's made 3 pit stops, but certainly not right, and I expect he may well drop to the back of the order with this.
Ooh, and Fenati overcooking it in the corkscrew again, and now Ashenko is just on his tail.
He is indeed. 0.3 of a second is the gap. Someone's off there. Is that Ricciardi again? Yes, it is. Ricciardi's had an off just ahead of these two. I'm coming into view, so we may have a 3-way fight for 3rd. Ricciardi definitely has had the most eventful race out of any of those drivers. Very up and down. I've got no idea how he's still running an effective 3rd position, despite everything that's happened to him. Ashenko now taking a look to the inside of Fenati. I told you he'd be right on top of him. Yeah, look, he's through Ashenko, and he gets it.
Amazing. Like, as you say, Ashenko, one of those drivers who's struggled with consistency in some of the other series, but when he's on, and he is now caught Fenati and taken the place to go into 4th.
He as indeed. Great job from Denis Ishenko now to get ahead of Pablo Finati and up into 4th place. And if Ricciardi makes another mistake, he could still be on for a podium. Wouldn't that be incredible for Denis Ishenko to finish on the podium? Gonna look at his stats. He did have a podium, which I mentioned earlier in another Sim Racing Online championship. It was the Group C Honey Jar Series, which took place back in 2018, and he ended up finishing 4th in the championship overall. Meanwhile, we have Paulo Braga has now got up to 8th position, so John Van der Geest still in the pits, and I wonder whether this is a terminal illness on Van der Geest's car. Hopefully not, although he's been sitting in the pits for a long time. Then again, said that before, and he rejoined the race then as well. But whatever the case, 8 cars on track at this point in time. The last of those being Paulo Braga, and John Van der Geest still in the pits. The gap for the lead is an incredible 53 seconds. Could Tony Talviti win this race by a minute? Wouldn't that be really quite something?
It's just
Tony Talviti, undoubtedly the driver of the day so far.
just an amazing pace at the front of the field. Even he's relaxed to a 124, which is still the pace of the field at this stage of the race.
And Ricciardi's made another mistake. Ricciardi went wide again. Ishenko might be on him here. Ishenko got to within half a second of him, so this could still be on for 3rd position. Ishenko tried to brake, and Ricciardi got sideways again. I was wondering whether he's going to go around, but Ricciardi certainly not happy with his car. Maybe it's the setup, maybe he's just not concentrating. But Ishenko, oh, big sideways movement, possibly wasting that opportunity for now. But again, the amount of mistakes Ricciardi's been making show that he could well make another one, and that would give Denis Ishenko his first Sim Racing Online podium of 2019.
As hard as the cards were stacked against Ricciardi at the top of this race, for him to be in the position he's in is just nothing short of heroic, and yet, he's been in the center of a lot of drama with 2 fights with Finati now. Some of it has been of his own making, and some has just befallen him. But whatever the case, Ishenko is hanging in there, trying to take advantage of whatever he can, and he still has a shot at this podium with under 9 minutes to go now.
So he does. My goodness, 1 second is the gap between them. Going on to another lap of the race. This is going to be a close and tense finish between the 2 of them. I think if Ricciardi keeps the car under control, he will get 3rd comfortably. But you have to say, with all due respect to Ricciardi, that is an if. Keeps it on the tarmac bubbly curve once again, and keeps running. Bill Gricock says, looks like Dennis is running quite high gearing. If that's the case, Dennis is probably a little bit slower in terms of acceleration, but a little bit faster towards the end of the straight. Sorry, Pasha.
We'll have to get in touch with WeatherTech and see if we can get an official name for Turn 5 now.
Sure.
It's a bubble curve.
I want it to be called Bubbly Curve. That'd be amazing. And just because I didn't know what I was saying earlier on.
Speaking of people who have had an incredibly good race, Laurent Land has very quietly solidified 2nd place, which would be his best finish of the season, and he really just hasn't encountered any sort of drama or problems or anything. He's like, I hope I haven't just jinxed him, but he's as I say, very quietly just ridden into 2nd in the standings, and is now pulling away from this group.
You know, I was talking earlier about how it's surprised that Davide Ricciardi has not won races in any other Sim Racing Online series, despite entering a few others. The same can be said for Laurent Land, who is yet to win a Sim Racing Online race, and that's amazing considering how competitive he is. But I think the reason he never wins is because he always enters our more competitive championships and tends to always finish 2nd or 3rd. I've noticed that every single time I've seen him race. He enters the top series we have, and he finishes 2nd or 3rd. Of course, if you've been watching my broadcast from the as Paulo Braga recovers from another spin. If you've been watching my broadcast of the F1 Classic Series, you'll know that he finished third in the first series after missing the final round of the. He didn't miss the final round of the championship. But anyway, still came third in the first F1 Classic Series. Didn't compete in the full second series, but scored a podium in the race that he did make, I believe. No, he didn't actually, but still, 6 podiums in the latest installment of the F1 Classic Series, and finished second in the overall championship, despite once again not winning a race. So Lauren Luns, no stranger to second position, and looks to be about to finish in second place again.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, unfortunately. But as you say, he's had some success in this series as well. I believe he had a podium at Oschersleben, much in the same style as this race, just sort of very almost casually strolling past the carnage around him and maintaining pace to pick up the position. But I believe second will be his best finish of the season, and he'll be inviting that. I don't recall how much that will catch him up in the championship, but a really great drive from Laurent Alon today.
I have no idea how Dennis Schenker has managed to pull off this strategy, but he clearly has more grip at this point in time than Davide Ricciardi. He's actually sticking with him. His last lap was faster by 0.2 per second. So Schenker may be able to beat Davide Ricciardi on pure pace here. In fact, Andrew Williams says he points out that Dennis Schenker ran 70 minutes on 1 tank of fuel, and Andrew feels that he'd need 32 extra litres than are available to do the same stint time. But somehow, despite all of that, it's working for Schenker, and he's in contention for a podium.
Indeed,
I've got no idea how, but whatever the case, I've also noticed that John Van der Geest has recovered to the circuit. He's 4 laps down, but he's still running in the race. Good sport from John Van der Geest. Hopefully he can finish the race. We've got just 4 minutes left, and actually I should say and Milliken's had an incident. Rob Milliken, who's running in second position, has spun at the corkscrew, very nearly took out Denis Schenker. Hopefully Schenker didn't have to back off for that, but that was very close.
Yeah, it looks like Milliken, like so many others, lost it at the top of the corkscrew, and because it's so blind, without looking at, if you don't have the course map with all the cars showing up on it, it's easy to just sort of lose sight of where everybody is. He very nearly pulled out in front of the 2 leaders.
He did indeed. So, Denis Schenker again faster than Ricciardi on the last lap. This is a proper fight for 3rd position here. Meanwhile, Talviti has done it. He's exited his lead to a minute. I knew he had the capability to do so. He has now done that. And if he can finish a minute ahead of anyone else, that would just show that he we already know he absolutely deserves the championship. He very much does. But that is really quite incredible pace there for Tony Talviti. And wow. Anyway, Ricciardi and Schenker still fight. Both getting onto the dry grass there on the outside of Bubbly Curb. And heading towards the corkscrew again. I think Ricciardi got off slightly better from that, but once again, Schenker still putting pressure on Ricciardi, still showing him that if he makes a mistake, he's going to be there to snap up that place, and that pressure can sometimes make it more likely for your opponent to make a mistake. So Schenker just needs to keep putting pressure on Ricciardi, and Ricciardi is doing exactly what I just said.
And they touch,
and they come together. Denis Schenker has run straight into him. Ricciardi spins, and Schenker takes 3rd place. Now, I have to say, I think that looked a little bit avoidable there from Schenker, Although, to be honest, I can see why the misjudgment happened. Riding on board with Ashenko, I think plenty of people would have made the same mistake. Ricciardi's out of the race. Ricciardi is not going to finish this race. That is a huge shame, and that means that our champion is Tony Talviti. No matter what happens now, Tony Talviti wins a fantastic championship here at SimRacingOnline. It went right down to the wire, but he's going to do it in terrific style by winning by 1 minute and 2 seconds. It seems he's going on to the final lap of the race next time around. I think so. Just one more lap plus the rest of this one. Lons will be second. Ashenko, I still think, deserves third place despite that incident being slightly avoidable. Fanotti will be fourth, and then Bali fifth. Huge shame from Davide Ricciardi, but you have to say he just made one too many mistake here today, or a few too many mistakes. But what a way to end the championship.
I can't imagine how frustrated Ricciardi must have been after missing qualifying, going through all the drama of the race, and then I think he just overcooked it into the hairpin, trying to recover. A bit of a lead foot trying to get back onto the front straight, and Ashenko, it could have braked more, but really had nowhere to go once Ricciardi started going around. But what a drive from Ricciardi to get so close and be on the podium after all of that adversity. An incredible drive, and I'm sure he may be going off to the forums to request a review of that move from Ashenko, but I think that was just an unfortunate racing incident to pile onto just a litany of dramatic occurrences for Ricciardi. A great drive today. He'll finish in second place in the championship, but what a performance.
Wow. Get yourself a teddy bear and drown it in toothpaste. This is exciting. I just can't believe what we're seeing here today at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It has thrown up such an incredible race of twists and turns. First of all, of course, we had Talviti leading the way, and that hectic first lap going on behind him. Then, of course, we had the charge through the field from Ricciardi after his spin in the opening stages. Then we had all of Ricciardi's mistakes. Oh, and Milliken's made another mistake there. He is off. That's actually a bubbly curve there, but anyway, he's going to recover and finish in seventh place. We've had fights for the lower positions in the podium. We had a wonderful long strategy from Denis Ashenko, which appears to be working out, and now we're going to have a win and a championship for Tony Talviti, who comes out of the final corner, and he is going to win by 1 minute and 3 seconds. That is one of the most incredible victories I've ever seen in my life in SimRacingOnline history. It may well be the biggest win in SimRacingOnline history. I'm not sure who has that stat currently, but Tony Talviti, an incredible win. Absolutely wonderful, absolutely unstoppable. And Ashenko's off on the last lap. He's had a spin. Now, does he get going before Fanotti catches him? I think he's going to, although they're definitely going to close in a bit.
It's going to be close.
That was a little bit hairy on the last lap there. Yeah, Ashenko gets away with it just. But anyway, Pasha, what a race we've just seen.
It's been a ride. Fanotti, I don't know that it's over yet. Fanotti down to 3 seconds with the closing moments of the race now approaching the corkscrew. But man, Talviti just in command from the green flag. It was interesting to see in free practice and in the beginnings of qualifying. It looked like Van der Geest had a shot at it. Laurent Land was showing the pace, but then Talviti just out of nowhere, besting everyone by a second a lap, and by the end of the race, just practically walking into the championship. An incredible drive from Tony Talviti to win this thing.
Laurent Land finishes in second place, and the end margin was 1 minute and 4 seconds. It was even bigger than I first said. That is utterly unbelievable. Denis Ashenko is third place. Brilliant podium from him. Only his second SimRacingOnline podium and his first one of 2019. Pablo Fanotti was fourth. Roberto Bali fifth. Rob Milliken sixth. Davide Ricciardi will be classified seventh, I think, because he completed more laps than Paulo Braga, who finished eighth, and then ninth in the end was John Van der Geest. Two retirements were Phil Brown and Andrew Williams. So that was the race. And that was the championship well-deserved victory from Tony Talviti, who is the driver of the day and driver of the series. Another win to his tally, and this is going to be one that he will remember for a while. The biggest win that we've seen in this series. But my goodness, you have to say he absolutely worked for it. He can add that to his winning tally alongside this year's Multi-Class Endurance Championship, alongside the ACB Endurance Cup UK, alongside the Gear Multi-Class Endurance Series, and alongside the Group C/Flat 6 Multi-Class Endurance Series GT3 class. So there you have it. Any last thoughts for the broadcast, Pasha?
Well, we saw the battle back and forth all season between Davide Ricciardi and Tony Talviti at the top of the standings. We've had 2 races in a row now where the championship was spread by by fewer than 5 points. It was 2 points the margin going into both of the last 2 races. But Talviti showing today after winning the races in the middle of the season, just crushing the competition, winning with authority today, showing the pace. Ricciardi, not to be outdone. He was facing it all from the start of the race, missing qualifying, still getting up into the podium positions, and just at the end, not able to come away with it. But yeah, Talviti, congrats to him for the championship. Ricciardi third. We'll have to review the points and the finishing from this event to see who ends up in third place in the championship. I believe Gutierrez may hang on to it, but we'll have to see. But just amazing driving from really everybody in the field. It was a bit dramatic at times, but a largely clean race, characteristic of the mentality of the field at SRO. But just a fitting end to an amazing season.
Totally. So thank you for broadcasting this, Pasha. You've done an amazing job, and filling in when I wasn't available as well. Thank you for all of that. Shout out to John Vandergeest for organising the broadcast, for making this happen, and to all of the series organisers and absolutely everyone involved. It's been wonderful. I very much enjoyed the 3 rounds that I made. And I'm looking forward to doing similar series in the not so distant future. So yeah, fantastic. Very, very well done. And we will see you whenever next time may be. Good night, everyone.
Good night.